Hi everyone, I'm Andrew Van Loon, this is Stefan Bartholomaeus, and we are in the City of Churches to preview the BP Adelaide Grand Final. This preview is brought to you by the Ford Ranger. It takes you and a Ranger. Stefan, your hometown, you haven't had to travel very far at all to get here. You must love it when Supercars comes to your town.
What a great place for a motor race, Andrew. It just manages to get better every year, this facility, the event, and the effort that gets put into the presentation of the place is just incredible. So yeah, so much to look forward to this weekend. Supercars Grand Final, Speedway, ACDC, just about everything you could want.
When you talk about effort, it takes a bit of effort to call it the Adelaide Grand Final, not the Adelaide 500, which we've called it for so many years. But this is the first ever Supercars Grand Final, and let's just get straight into running through the four contenders for the Supercars Championship. Again, I've said it a million times, I love this format. I love the fact that we do have four drivers in contention to win the title coming to this event. Let's start with our favourites. I'm going to pick Chaz Mostert as my favourite, and I'll explain that a little bit in a minute. Who's your favourite at the moment?
Oh, for me, I think you've still got to have to say Brock Feeney. He's been the form driver in the best team for the bulk of the season. And I think getting that win there at Sandown to just break that little winless streak for him was quite important. And I think Triple Eight, they've just got such a history of executing in the big moments. So I'd say Brock, but give us your pitch for Chaz.
Well, look, I agree with everything you're saying about Brock there, and there really is nothing between them in my mind. I've just got a bit of a gut feel about Chaz Mostert. He's won 3 of the 4 finals races so far. He really has come good on form at the right time of the year, and we see that in other sporting codes. That's a very important part of having a final structure, is carrying momentum through the finals and getting the wins when they really matter. I think that Ford Mustang Aero package on this street circuit should work reasonably well. History suggests that to be the case. And he's got Ryan Wood, who we know is willing to fight on his behalf and who should be right at the front as well. And that's an advantage that he does have over Brock Feeney, who still has his teammate Will Brown in the hunt as well, and then has that little bit more jeopardy around track position, potential double stacking and all that sort of stuff. So when I add it all up, and just Chaz's absolute wealth of experience and the fact that he hasn't won a championship before, he's going to see this as his chance, because there's competition coming from inside that garage as well in the next few years to come at Walkinshaw Andretti United from Ryan Wood. So that's where I'll land on this being Chaz's year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack out of that. Obviously, you mentioned that aero change to the Mustang that happened before the bend that was said to be all about drag, but handy little rearward aero balance shifts, possibly better in the braking areas on a street circuit like this. Great points about Ryan Wood and the role he can play. There's so much talk about team tactics and using the second car to help, which Triple Eight are sort of in a different position because they have 2 drivers in the 4. But it's also, you can only use the other car if they're fast enough to be involved. And we've seen Ryan Wood at Sandown, he just played the perfect role there, helping Chaz to that win on Saturday that guaranteed him a ticket through. So yeah, there's so many years where we sort of end the season going, oh, if Chaz could have had that form all year, if Walkinshaws could have done that all season, they would have won the championship. He's only scored the 5th amount of points in total for the season to date, but as you point out, finals format, don't worry about the rest of the year. It's all about this weekend.
What about Will Brown? He's in a really interesting position because it kind of feels like he hasn't really been in the hunt compared to his teammate Brock Feeney all year. Again, as you were just saying, that all goes out the window when we come to a grand final anyway. Qualifying form just such an issue. He so rarely has that track position advantage early in the race compared to Brock, but his race pace, and this wasn't just a Sandown thing where he qualified poorly and came through. All year, the race pace on car 1 has been phenomenal, so you can't rule him out.
No, absolutely not. I mean, he's described it in recent weeks as a disappointing season, but it can all turn around. He's still right in the fight. So, yeah, the qualifying thing, a massive issue. He's been able to carve through races like Sandown where there was 2 long races that went green all the way, no double stacking, tailor-made for him to come through. But, geez, it's hard, especially around here with the chances of a yellow and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, if he can find a way to start further towards the front, then look out.
And then Kai Allen is our 4th seed in terms of points, and definitely the outsider just in terms of experience. He hasn't been a race winner in the Supercars main game before. He's a rookie, so that feels like a big mountain to climb. But again, everyone's in contention. That's the whole point of the format. He does have history when it comes to Adelaide and fighting it out for titles. He did it unsuccessfully in Super 3 in 2022. He did it successfully in Super 2 in 2023 and then unsuccessfully again in Super 2 in 2024. So he's got runs on the board when it comes here trying to wrap up a title. But it's hard to see him as anything but the outsider heading in to this weekend.
Yeah, and it's interesting too that he actually got to run the big race on the Sunday here last year with Grove Racing because Richie Stanaway unfortunately had that concussion from an incident here at Turn 8. So yeah, as you say, he's the outsider, he's the dark horse. In many ways, he's the fairy tale story of this final series, this rookie that's been able to scrape his way in. I think it might be a little bit of a nightmare for Supercars if he does actually win it, because the scrutiny on whether this finals format is right will really come on if he takes it. But yeah, I think you definitely can't discount him with the way he's improved through the year, the way Groves execute races strategically and all the rest of it. I think he's in it for sure.
Let's have a very quick chat about weather. Beautiful sunshine here today as we're filming on a Tuesday morning, but there's a long way to go until we actually get into the racing. The forecast at the moment suggests Friday evening could be a bit dicey. And we're racing on Friday evening. So, you know, we're here at Turn 8, incredibly dangerous at the best of times. If it's wet, it just gets even easier to slide into this wall. That would be interesting if we kicked off this final series with a wet race.
Yeah, and they've put 50 grand on the line for the win in that race alone. So there'll be some real attention around that. But yeah, I mean, as you say, beautiful right now. We'll see what, it's a long event, 4 days, practice starting Thursday evening. So we'll see what the weekend brings.
Let's finish up by chatting about a couple of wildcards that are in action in Adelaide this weekend. In the main game, we have Austin Cindric, the NASCAR Cup Series driver who is racing a third Tickford Mustang. He did the ride day at Sandown. He's done a couple of days, I think, testing at the Bend during the week, last week leading into this. That's all well and good, but this circuit is so unique. The challenge of the main game is so difficult. What do you expect to see from Austin this weekend?
Yeah, it's going to obviously be tough for him. He's come down here with a great attitude, learned all he could watching at Sandown. Those 2 days that he's done at the Bend, he should have a fair handle on the car. He's talked a lot about right foot braking, committed to trying to drive these cars like the Supercars guys do. But yeah, the track's going to be the biggest issue for him. Like, it's very different to the Bend. These walls so close to the track, such high commitment. Yeah, I think it's going to be a big effort to lift himself off the bottom, basically.
But the incredible part about this category is that if he gets within a second of pole in a qualifying session, that's actually a massive effort and something to commend him on. But he'll still probably be 24th.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so competitive that you shouldn't be able to walk into it and be near the front. But we'll see. He's got a lot of road racing experience, more so than a lot of the other NASCAR Cup guys that he races against usually. So he's got a good team as well there in Tickford. They don't have a car in the Final Four, so yeah, let's see what he can do. But the other guy to watch out for is actually Jesse Love, the NASCAR Xfinity champion in Super 2. And he's done his running only 1 day, but out at Malala, a lot slower speed. You're actually out there and you spoke to him. What do you reckon? Yeah,
I happened to just be at Malala doing something else, and there was a supercar buzzing around there. Just to go back a little bit, I did say that Austin Cindric would be 24th. He would, of course, be 25th because there are 25 cars on the grid. But, yeah, Jesse Love, that was, I think, quite a smart choice from Image Racing to choose Malala over the Bend to do the running. They did feel it was a bit better comparison to this circuit. But, you know, I spoke to Jesse at about lunchtime. He'd done 3 runs, and it was, the learning curve was steep, and he made very little secret of that. Obviously, Austin Cindric is coming from a Cup Series car into a Gen 3 car, and I think that there are quite a few similarities there, but the NASCAR guys talk about the differences between an Xfinity car and their Cup car. So let alone going from an Xfinity car to a Gen 2 car with that additional aero, and even little bits and pieces like the fact you've still got in-car bar adjustment and all that sort of stuff. There's actually more to do in those cars than there is in a Gen 3 car. So obviously the level, being Super 2 instead of the main game, is a little more manageable, but in some ways he'd probably acclimatise quicker to jumping into a Gen 3 car rather than a Gen 2 car. So I'm sure he would have got down to a comfortable pace. He is a professional race car driver. He's the Xfinity champion, but I certainly think, I'm not saying at any point he thought it was going to be easy, but he'd worked out by about lunchtime on Monday that he was facing a really big challenge. Well, that'll do us for this preview video. Make sure you stay tuned to Speedcafe. All week we'll have all of the coverage here from the Adelaide Grand Final, Supercars, Super 2, even the Speedway, all that sort of stuff. There is just so much going on here. So stay tuned to Speedcafe for all of the action.